Formula One has been relatively stable for many years, and then the FIA talked about introducing a cost cap into the sport, really aimed at trying to level the playing field. The actual level was set at $175 million. Now for us as a business, that's quite a change because we were above that number. It's fell onto my shoulders to take us through that. And then the pandemic came along. So we had a number of really massive factors playing on the organisation and finding the lever, and it was finding a way to say, actually there's a direction here which is exciting, it's interesting, I can develop. It's been really important.
What does transformation mean to you, and what's the key to it, do you think, when you think about how you get success in transformation?
The last few years for us has seen significant change. As the sort of leader of it, if I'm being brutally honest, for a couple of months, I sort of stared at it. I thought, actually, how do you go about tackling this? Because it's different. It's not a sort of technical challenge that we're so used to. And most of us have engineering backgrounds and mindsets, so we kind of like technical challenges because we can understand them. We sort of understand the journey, and we've got a good idea what the end point will be. So that's quite a comfortable place for us. When you're looking at something like this, which is quite wide-ranging, for myself anyway, I sort of looked at it and did various different plans and actually got myself stuck into a bit of inertia. I didn't actually start it, and it was only kind of taken a brave pill in the end and said, right, let's just get going. Let's get a group of people together and let's start sort of scoping out the sort of challenge. And that's what we did. And we got ourselves into a reasonable place. We had a project team in place, we had a structure in place. And then the pandemic came along in 2020. And what happened in March, April time 2020, the FIA reduced that cost cap limit from $175 million down to $145 million. So suddenly this challenge became a really significant challenge, really significant. For a company like ourselves, this was pretty major. We probably wasted, I don't know, maybe a couple of months until actually it wasn't me, it was somebody else in the team said, we need to stop. We actually need to stop. We are not going to get where we need to get to just by adopting the same approach we had before. So it was a big turning point. And he goes, this is a significant change now. And we need to step back from what we're doing and actually look at how we're going to organize ourselves. And that was an important moment for us, because it did force us to think differently. Instead of this sort of oppressive shrinkage type model, that's what we were heading towards. We thought, well, how do we look at this differently? How do we look at it from a sort of growth perspective, a much more positive perspective? Because we'd built this team over many years and we're very proud of it. And it's, in a way, the easy path would have been, okay, let's reduce the team down to the size of the cost cap limit and then let's go forward. But we didn't want to do that. We actually wanted to try and maintain the strength of the team as much as we can. But actually, how do we do that when you've only got a fixed amount of money you can spend? So we came up with a different strategy, a strategy where actually at certain times of the year where we can't afford these people, let's use them on something else. Let's use them on what we call non-F1 work. So this is work doing projects that aren't related to Formula One. So we started talking to companies, and the first major project we took on board was to help with the America's Cup, because Ineos are one of our sponsors. They were involved in the America's Cup in the last campaign. We did a little bit of work to help them, but actually we're doing a lot more work on that. So we started doing these interesting, exciting projects which complement our skills, so using the capabilities. They're commercial projects, so they're generating income, which is always useful for the business. And we're able to maintain the organization pretty much as we've had it before. So suddenly it's a change of direction, and we're actually heading down a path where the team isn't actually reducing. Potentially it's growing. So our communication changed very quickly. Once we've sort of firmed at a direction, we could talk to the organization and say, this is where we're going. We have some clarity now of the direction at a high level. There's a lot of detail to work through, but actually it's a really positive future. Now, Formula One will always be at the heart of what we do. It's the core of what we're about. But actually, there's some interesting other projects.
I loved what you said around pivoting into other industries. There's a positive energy about that. It gets you back to a why, back to a purpose. We're brilliant engineers. Where else can we deploy these skills?
I mean, I can sit here and talk about which may appear like a nice story with a nice direction, but actually it's really hard. It is really hard, and there's many days of uncertainty and difficulty. And again, if you wind the clock back, what we do differently. Actually, I believe we were quite naive. Believe it or not, we were really busy before this all came along, and then we decided we need to do this big change, and we thought, okay, let's do this change, but we'll do it ourselves. We'll just suck it up and get on with it. So what we ended up doing was really overloading the managers and the people in the organisation, and we didn't really add too much extra resource into the company. So we didn't really understand that well enough. So people were really under the cosh, and still are, because we're still wrestling with this model. Because we're quite conservative of, actually, I talk about, there's a cost cap, but we can have this growth model, but we didn't really believe it well enough, or we weren't brave enough to really believe in it and invest in it. So actually, it's clear now that we were short of resource in a number of areas. We thought, we can't go and recruit, we've got a cost cap. So there's all of these difficulties and dimensions that came into play that we're wrestling with, that you would probably change with hindsight. Now we'll come through it, because we've got a direction, and we kind of know where we're going, and it's starting to settle down. But it's really, really difficult. But stepping back and having that clarity is the biggest change that we did. What would I have done differently? I wish I'd been braver at the start, being able to have the clarity of, I can see it, I can see where we're going, I can see the direction, and I can articulate it in a way which is engaging, so people will share the same enthusiasm for it. That actually, there's going to be some tough steps along this journey. Actually, where we're going is going to be worth the effort. You've got to find a way to enjoy it, because it can take its toll. And actually, I actually felt quite privileged, to be honest, for a change of this scale, to be asked to try and lead it was a bit of a privilege. And see it like that. Don't see it as a weight. Don't see it as nobody else has stepped forward, it's me. See it as something that is actually quite exciting. It's an opportunity. But don't try and carry the burden on your own shoulders. People are generally supportive if you're honest and open. And as quickly as you can, try to get some clarity, as I said, and a consensus about this is where we need to be. Then you feel in better shape. But not forgetting, as we've talked all the way through this, about the human element.